The lonely cargo ship drifted through the darkness of space. Inside, James Wilson sat in the pilot's seat, checking his navigation screens. He was a tall man with dark hair and tired eyes, making his usual supply run between Earth's colonies. Everything seemed normal until the ship's computer started beeping loudly. Warning: unknown objects ahead. The computer's voice echoed through the cabin. James looked up, and his eyes went wide. A massive field of asteroids appeared in front of his ship, something that wasn't supposed to be there. He grabbed the controls and tried to turn the ship around, but it was too late. A large rock smashed into the right engine, sending the ship spinning out of control. Mayday! Mayday! James shouted into his radio. This is cargo ship Delta 7. I've been hit. Only static answered his calls. The ship entered the atmosphere of an unknown planet, flames covering the windows as it fell. James held onto his seat tightly, praying the ship would hold together. Trees rushed past as the ship crashed through a thick forest, metal screaming as branches tore at the hull. Finally, with a massive crash, the ship hit the ground and everything went black. Hours later, James opened his eyes slowly. His head hurt, but he was alive. Sunlight streamed through the cracked windows of his ship. He checked himself for injuries. Just some cuts and bruises. Lucky. The air inside the ship was getting thick and hot. James grabbed his emergency backpack and put on his portable air tester. He pressed the button to open the ship's door, but it didn't move. After 3 hard kicks, the door finally broke open. Fresh air hit his face as he stepped outside. The air tester showed he could breathe safely. James looked around in amazement. He had crashed in a forest unlike anything he'd ever seen. The trees were enormous, with purple leaves that seemed to glow. Strange bird-like creatures flew between the branches, making musical calls. At least I landed somewhere beautiful, James muttered to himself as he checked the damage to his ship. The sight made his heart sink. The right engine was completely destroyed, and the communications array was smashed to pieces. He was stranded. James climbed on top of his ship to get a better view. The forest stretched as far as he could see in every direction. 2 suns hung in the sky, one blue, one orange. This wasn't any planet he knew about. As the day went on, James worked to salvage what he could from his ship. He set up a small camp nearby and managed to get the emergency beacon working. But would anyone hear it out here, so far from normal space routes? The blue sun was setting when James first noticed something strange. He felt like he was being watched. Moving quietly, he grabbed his flashlight and looked around. There, between the trees, movement. He pointed his light toward it, but whatever it was had already gone. Night fell quickly on this alien world. James sat near his campfire, eating one of his emergency rations. The forest was alive with strange sounds, clicks, whistles, and songs he'd never heard before. He kept his laser pistol close, just in case. That's when he saw them. 3 pairs of eyes glowing in the darkness between the trees. They were too high up to be from any normal-sized person. The eyes were beautiful but scary. They shined with different colors like opals. James stayed very still as the owners of those eyes moved closer. In the firelight, he could finally see them. They were alien women, at least 7 feet tall, with light blue skin that seemed to shimmer. They moved like dancers, but also like hunters, graceful but dangerous. Their long hair looked like strands of starlight. The 3 aliens surrounded his camp, staying just at the edge of the firelight. They made no moves to attack, but they didn't leave either. They watched him with those glowing eyes, talking to each other in soft musical sounds he couldn't understand. James knew he should be terrified, but something about them fascinated him. Were they friendly? Dangerous? Both. He had no way to know. All he knew was that his boring cargo run had just turned into something much more interesting. As the night grew darker, more of those eyes appeared in the forest. James realized with a mix of fear and wonder that his adventure was just beginning. He was trapped on an alien world, surrounded by mysterious, beautiful beings who might want to help him or might want to kill him. Only time would tell. James woke up to an awful screeching sound. 3 massive creatures that looked like a mix between bears and lizards were circling his camp. Their scales glowed red in the morning light, and their 6 eyes tracked his every movement. He reached slowly for his laser pistol, but it was gone. A musical whistle cut through the air. The 3 alien women from last night suddenly dropped from the trees. They moved faster than anything James had ever seen. Their blue skin now had patterns that glowed like circuits, pulsing with light. The tallest alien woman raised her hand, and vines burst from the ground, wrapping around the bear lizards. The second alien touched one of the creatures, and it instantly fell asleep. The third alien, the one with star-like hair, made strange gestures that created shields of light around James's camp. When the fight was over, James stood there with his mouth open. The aliens weren't just survivors. They had powers he couldn't even understand. The tall one approached him, pointing to herself. "Luna," she said in a voice that sounded like singing. She pointed to the one who could put creatures to sleep. "Nova." Then to the one who made light shields. "Star." James pointed to himself. "James." His voice sounded rough compared to theirs. Luna touched one of the glowing patterns on her arm, and a small hologram appeared above her skin. It showed their planet, then scenes of destruction. Other aliens like them, being taken away by humans in dark uniforms. Their cities burning. At the end, only Luna, Nova, and Star remained. Last, Luna said in English, surprising James. She must have learned some words from watching the human invaders. Nova walked over to James's crashed ship. She placed her hand on the broken engine, and her circuit-like patterns glowed brighter. Small pieces of metal began floating, trying to reconnect. She looked at James with frustration when she couldn't fix it completely. Star approached James with something in her hands. It was a fruit that looked like a glowing crystal. She mimed eating it. When James took a bite, his cuts and bruises from the crash instantly healed. His eyes went wide with amazement. Through gestures and the few English words Luna knew, James learned more. Their people had lived here for thousands of years. They called themselves the Luminary. Each Luminary was born with different powers. Luna could control plants, Nova could manipulate technology and energy, and Star could heal and create protective shields. 10 years ago, human scientists had found their planet. They pretended to be friendly, but then started capturing Luminary to study their powers. Luna, Nova, and Star escaped and hid in the deepest parts of the forest. They were the only ones left. That's why they watched James so carefully last night. They weren't sure if he was like the other humans who had hurt their people. As the day went on, James tried to show them he was different. He helped them gather food, shared his emergency supplies, and tried to learn their language. Nova seemed especially interested in his technology, taking apart his broken radio with her powers to understand how it worked. That evening, as they sat around his campfire, something changed. Luna arrived with a glowing flower. She crushed it into dust and blew it over James. Suddenly, he could understand their language, though speaking it was still hard. "The bloom of understanding," Luna explained. "We give it to those we trust." But their peaceful moment didn't last long. A deep rumble shook the ground. Far in the distance, lights appeared in the sky. Nova's circuit patterns flashed in alarm. "The bad ones," she said. "They're coming back." James looked at his new alien friends. He had to make a choice: help them fight against his own kind, or try to signal the ships for rescue. As Star created a light shield over their camp, and Luna prepared her plant defenses, he made his decision. Sometimes, he realized, the real monsters weren't the aliens. Sometimes, they were the humans who refused to understand things that were different from them. 2 months had passed since James crashed on the Luminary world. The morning began with him learning how to connect with the forest's energy. Luna sat cross-legged in a clearing, her circuit-like patterns softly pulsing. Small flowers grew wherever her feet touched the ground. Feel the life force, Luna instructed. Every living thing here is connected. James closed his eyes, trying to sense what she meant. Suddenly, he felt it, like invisible threads connecting everything around him. His eyes snapped open in surprise. The plants near him had started glowing faintly. "Impossible," he whispered. "Humans can't." "Your people forgot how," Luna explained. "Long ago, humans also had the gift. They traded it for machines." Nova worked nearby, her hands hovering over pieces of James's ship. She had discovered she could merge luminary crystal technology with human electronics. Small drones she created floated around them, their cores glowing with combined alien and human energy. "Look what I made," Nova called excitedly. She had learned English quickly, fascinated by human language and technology. She held up what looked like a metal flower. When it opened, it projected a perfect 3D map of the surrounding forest. Star appeared silently, as she often did. She carried her healing staff, which she had taught James was actually a living creature, a symbiotic plant that chose its partner. "Time for your lesson," she said to James. Today's lesson was about the luminary's unique biology. Star's body began to glow as she demonstrated how they could change their skin patterns to communicate emotions and share energy. Happy patterns looked like flowing water, while danger patterns appeared sharp and angular. "Your skin patterns are changing too," Star noted, pointing to James's arms. He looked down in shock. Faint, silvery lines had begun appearing on his skin. They weren't as bright as the luminary's patterns, but they were definitely there. "The forest is changing you," Luna explained. "The more time humans spend here, the more they awaken old abilities." That afternoon, Nova took James to a secret place she had discovered. Hidden behind a waterfall that flowed upward instead of down, they found an ancient luminary learning center. The walls were covered in living crystals that contained thousands of years of their history and knowledge. "Put your hand here." Nova guided him to a crystal panel. When he touched it, images flooded his mind. He saw the first contact between humans and luminary, thousands of years ago on Earth. Back then, they had been allies, sharing knowledge and powers. But something had gone wrong, leading to a great separation. Their discovery was interrupted by one of Nova's sensor drones beeping urgently. Strange energy readings were coming from the old research facility where the bad humans had hurt their people. "Someone's activated the old systems," Nova said, her patterns shifting to show worry. That evening, as they gathered in their hidden camp, James noticed something even stranger. The two suns were aligning. Something that happened only once every 100 years, according to Luna. As the suns crossed, all the plants in the forest began to sing. Not with sound, but with pure energy that everyone could feel. Star used her powers to create a floating light display, showing them what was happening. "The awakening is beginning," she said seriously. "When the suns align, all powers grow stronger. But so do the dangers." James watched as his own faint patterns grew brighter in the dual sunlight. He had so many questions. Why were humans once connected to this power? What had made them lose it? And most importantly, what was happening at the old facility? Luna stood suddenly, her patterns flashing in alarm. "Something's coming through the barrier." They all felt it, a tear in the energy field that protected their part of the forest. Through the tear came a creature none of them had seen before. It looked like it was made of shadows and machinery combined, its eyes glowing with the same energy that powered the old facility. Nova's drones scattered to create a defensive perimeter. Star's shields sprang up around them. Luna called to the forest for help. And James, to his surprise, found himself able to channel energy through his new patterns, creating a light that pushed back the darkness. The creature retreated, but they all knew this was just the beginning. Someone or something was waking up the old facility, creating new threats by combining human technology with corrupted luminary energy. "We need to prepare," Luna said, her patterns showing determination. "James, it's time you learned about our weapons." He nodded, watching his own patterns pulse in response to his determination. He wasn't just learning their ways anymore. He was becoming something new, a bridge between two worlds that had forgotten they were once connected. The abandoned research facility loomed before them, its walls covered in dark vines that seemed to pulse with corrupted energy. James's new luminary patterns tingled with warning as they approached. His patterns had grown stronger, now glowing silver blue like starlight on water. Nova's drones scouted ahead, projecting 3D holograms of the facility's interior. But something was interfering with them. "The shadows are blocking my sensors," she said, her circuit patterns flickering with frustration. Luna touched the ground, communicating with the plants around the facility. Her eyes widened. "The earth here is screaming. Whatever they did in there, it hurt the very soul of this world." Star had crafted special crystals for each of them, living light gems that would protect their minds from the facility's dark influence. She placed one on James's chest, where it merged with his skin, becoming part of his growing pattern network. "Remember," Star warned, "nothing in there is what it seems." They entered through a broken door. Inside, emergency lights cast eerie shadows. But these shadows moved wrong. They crept along walls even when nothing was moving, reaching out with dark tendrils. Nova found a working computer terminal and connected to it through her powers. Her patterns turned dark blue as she processed the information. "This isn't just a research facility," she gasped. "It's a gateway." Holographic records sprang to life around them. They showed human scientists experimenting with luminary energy, trying to create portals to other dimensions. But they didn't understand the power they were dealing with. The images showed dark creatures slipping through failed portals, infecting both technology and living things with shadow energy. "Look," James pointed to a sealed door. Ancient luminary symbols covered its surface, but they were mixed with human writing. As his patterns brightened, he found he could read both. "Warning. Project Mirror Soul Containment Chamber," he translated. They were trying to copy luminary powers into human subjects. Luna's patterns flashed with anger. "That's why they took our people. They weren't just studying us. They were trying to steal our essence." A screen flickered to life, showing security footage from years ago. Scientists in dark uniforms were connecting captured luminary to machines, but something went wrong. The machines overloaded, and instead of copying powers, they created the first shadow creatures, hybrid beings of corrupted human and luminary energy. Suddenly, Star's shield crystals pulsed with warning. Shadow creatures emerged from the walls. But these were different from the one they'd seen in the forest. These had faces, twisted combinations of human and luminary features frozen in expressions of pain. "They're the lost ones," Star whispered in horror. "The failed experiments." Nova's drones formed a light barrier while Luna commanded roots to burst through the floor, holding the creatures back. James discovered his patterns could generate pulses of pure energy that dispersed the shadows temporarily. As they fought their way deeper into the facility, they found something unexpected. A giant crystal chamber. Inside, hundreds of light cores floated in stasis, each containing the essence of a captured luminary. "Our people," Luna breathed. "They're not dead. They're trapped." Nova interfaced with the chamber's controls. "The system is drawing power from them, using their life force to keep the dimensional tiers open. That's what's letting the shadow creatures through." But before they could do anything, a new figure appeared. It stepped out of a shadow portal, a tall being that looked like a perfect merge of human and luminary. Its patterns were black and red, and its eyes glowed with unnatural power. "Welcome back," it said in a voice that echoed strangely. "We've been waiting for new subjects." The figure raised its hand, and all their protective crystals shattered. James felt dark energy trying to corrupt his new patterns. Luna, Nova, and Star moved to defend him, but the being was incredibly powerful. "You don't recognize me," it laughed. "I was the first successful hybrid, Project Mirror Soul's greatest achievement. And now, with the suns aligned, I can finally complete what we started." More shadow creatures emerged, surrounding them. The hybrid being opened its arms, and the walls of reality themselves began to tear open. "The barriers between worlds are weakening," Nova shouted over the growing chaos. If those portals fully open, they needed to make a choice. Try to save the trapped luminary, or stop the portals from opening fully. Either way, time was running out, and the shadows were closing in. James looked at his patterns, now pulsing with both light and dark energy. He remembered what Luna said about humans once having these powers. Maybe that was the key. Not stealing or copying the power, but remembering how to awaken it naturally. "I have an idea," he said, reaching out to Luna, Nova, and Star. "But you'll have to trust me completely." The hybrid being's laugh echoed through the facility as reality itself began to crack around them. Some choices change everything. And this one would change two worlds forever. James's plan was dangerous but brilliant. Standing in the crystal chamber, he joined hands with Luna, Nova, and Star, forming a circle around the trapped luminary essences. His silver-blue patterns began to synchronize with their circuit-like markings, creating a harmonious light show. "The hybrid being was wrong," James said, his voice resonating with newfound power. "Humans didn't need to steal luminary energy. We just needed to remember our connection to it." As their patterns synchronized, something extraordinary happened. The chamber filled with a new kind of energy. Not pure luminary, not human, but a perfect blend of both. James's patterns expanded, forming intricate mandalas that matched ancient symbols on the chamber walls. Nova's technology controlling powers merged with the facility's systems. Her drones transformed, becoming spheres of pure light that could disrupt the shadow creature's form. "The old records were incomplete," she explained excitedly. "Humans and Luminary once worked together to protect multiple dimensions. Luna's plant control evolved too. The corrupted vines around the facility began to transform, their darkness burning away to reveal crystalline structures that pulsed with clean energy. "The plants remember," she whispered. "They were once bridges between our peoples." Star's shields took on new properties, becoming portals that could purify corrupted energy. When shadow creatures passed through them, they didn't die. They were healed, returning to their original forms. But the hybrid being wasn't finished. It emerged from its dark portal, now massive and distorted. "You don't understand," it roared. "The separation was necessary. When powers combine, they become too strong to control." The creature released waves of corruption, but something unexpected happened. The trapped luminary essences resonated with the group's combined energy. One by one, they began to wake up. James touched the central crystal, and suddenly his mind filled with ancient memories, not his own, but genetic memories stored in human DNA. He saw the truth. Humans and Luminary had once been guardians together, protecting the barriers between dimensions. The separation hadn't been natural. Something had forced them apart. Nova's enhanced drones projected these memories for everyone to see. They showed a third race, beings of pure shadow who had corrupted the human luminary alliance from within, making them fear each other's powers. The shadow beings, Nova realized, they've been manipulating both our races for thousands of years. The hybrid being's form flickered, revealing its true nature, a shadow creature wearing a stolen hybrid form. "We've waited so long," it hissed, "keeping humans and Luminary apart, letting fear grow, until we could harvest both your powers." Luna stepped forward, her evolved powers allowing her to create a new kind of plant, one that could exist in multiple dimensions at once. "Then we'll remake the alliance," she declared. Star added her power, creating a shield that existed simultaneously in the past, present, and future. Inside this temporal bubble, they could see the shadow being's influence throughout history, and more importantly, how to undo it. James felt his patterns change again. Silver-blue light spread from him to the others, then to the trapped essences. He wasn't just connecting with luminary power, He was helping reawaken humanity's long-dormant abilities. The hybrid being launched a final assault, tearing open multiple shadow portals at once. But this time, they were ready. Working together, they created something that hadn't existed for thousands of years, a unity field. Their combined powers transformed the facility. Shadow portals inverted, becoming light bridges. The trapped essences awakened fully, each one adding to the unity field's strength. Even the shadow creatures caught in the field began to change, their corrupted forms revealing ancient guardian spirits that had been trapped by the shadow beings. Nova's sensors detected similar transformations happening worldwide. The unity field, she said in awe. It's spreading across the planet. The hybrid being's stolen form began to crack. You don't know what you've done, it warned. Some powers are meant to stay separate. But as the unity field grew stronger, they all understood the truth. It wasn't about keeping powers separate or trying to steal them. It was about remembering that they were never truly separate at all. Luna used her evolved powers to show them something remarkable. DNA strands from humans and Luminary intertwining, sharing the same ancient markers. We were one people, she revealed, long ago, before the shadow beings divided us. Star's temporal shields revealed more. And we can be again, she said, showing visions of a possible future where humans and Luminary work together once more, protecting multiple dimensions from shadow being influence. The chamber filled with light as the last of the trapped essences awakened, but their victory came with a warning. In the facility's deepest levels, something was stirring, something that even the shadow beings feared. James looked at his 3 alien friends, their patterns now permanently synchronized with his own. Whatever's down there, he said, we'll face it together. The hybrid being's form finally shattered, revealing the truth about why the shadow beings had worked so long to keep humans and Luminary apart. Together, they could change reality itself. Deep beneath the facility, James, Luna, Nova, and Star discovered a massive chamber that defied reality. The walls were made of living crystal that showed reflections of different timelines, some where humans and Luminary never separated, others where the shadow beings had won. Their evolved patterns now moved in perfect harmony, creating a protective field of light around them. James's silver-blue markings had developed a new ability. He could touch the timeline crystals and temporarily merge different realities. Look, Nova gasped, her enhanced drones scanning the chamber. This isn't Nova's drones gathered data from multiple timeline crystals, piecing together the full story. The shadow beings, she said, they're not our enemies. They're our parents. And like controlling parents, they couldn't let their children grow up. James felt something stirring in his evolved patterns. Genetic memories not just from human or Luminary ancestors, but from their original combined form. He saw the truth. Their ancestors had willingly split themselves apart, hiding their true power in the changed DNA of their descendants. But they left us a way to remember, James said, through love, through connection. That's why the shadow beings worked so hard to keep our races apart. The entity attacked again, but this time they were ready. Their 4-way unity field had grown stronger, tapping into the chamber's Genesis energy. The Genesis chamber's DNA helix spun faster, resonating with their transformation. Their individual forms dissolved into pure energy, patterns combining into something entirely new. They became a being of shifting light and crystal, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Through their merged consciousness, they accessed the full knowledge of their ancestors. The architects hadn't just created them. They were testing if life could evolve beyond its creators. The shadow beings had been watching over hundreds of experiments across the galaxy. Some succeeded in reunifying, becoming new architects. Others failed, their fear keeping them separate until they were unmade. Their merged forms spoke with one voice. We understand now. The separation wasn't punishment, it was protection. We needed to evolve separately before we could handle true unity. The architect's light intensified. Final untamed beginning. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath. The merged being that was once James, Luna, Nova, and Star faced a choice that would affect all timelines. The architects offered three options. First, remain separate, return to their individual forms, but keep their evolved powers. Safe, comfortable, limited. Second, complete the merge, become a new architect, leave Earth and Luminary behind to seed new experiments across the cosmos. Third, something that had never been tried. Find a way to exist as both one and many, unified, and separate simultaneously. The most difficult path, but one that might change the nature of reality itself. Their merged consciousness rippled with four different perspectives, yet moved in harmony. They reached out, not up toward the architects, but inward, toward the Genesis Chamber's core. We choose our own path, they declared. Their patterns erupted with new energy, connecting to every human and luminary across all timelines. The DNA helix in the chamber resonated, sending waves of transformation across dimensions. They had discovered the truth. Unity didn't require losing individuality. Their patterns merged and separated in a constant dance, showing a new form of existence. The architect's light flickered with something that might have been surprise. In all their experiments, across billions of years, no species had ever chosen this path. The shadow being's essence swirled around them in acceptance. Their role as guardians was ending. A new form of life was emerging, one that could shift between unity and separation at will. James, Luna, Nova, and Star's merged form became a template. Across Earth and the luminary world, others began to discover this new way of being. Humanity and luminary would remain separate species, but with the ability to temporarily merge, sharing one consciousness while maintaining their individual selves. The architect's judgment came. Experiment Earth, luminary, resulta, unprecedented, evolution, HFY. Their light began to fade, not in disappointment, but in recognition. Their creation had grown beyond them, finding a path they had never imagined. The merged being separated back into four forms, but now James, Luna, Nova, and Star were something more, guardians of this new evolution. Their patterns remained connected, dancing between unity and separation, showing others the way. The Genesis Chamber transformed into a new kind of nexus, not just connecting dimensions, but teaching this dance between one and many. The shadow beings, their purpose fulfilled, became partners instead of guardians. So, James said, his patterns flowing freely between his three loves, what should we teach them first? Luna smiled, her plants blooming across multiple realities. Everything. Nova's drones formed a model of the cosmos, and nothing. Star's temporal shields showed infinite possibilities ahead. Because now we are both the teachers. And the lesson itself, they finished in unison, their patterns merging once more as they stepped into their new role as guides for two species becoming something gloriously new. The story that began with a crash landing had become something more, the birth of a new form of life itself. And somewhere in the cosmic dance between one and many, love had proven stronger than the laws of reality themselves.